right. So every once in a while, you just walk around and you see something that just hits you like a stack of coffee beans. And I'm with Chris Buck from Member Services of
the Specialty Coffee Association.
All right, so there you go. And I see this thing called the Coffee Tasters Flavor Wheel. Now, so how much coffee is consumed out there? It's like trillions of gallons.
Trillions of gallons? I guess that's a safe estimate.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've seen all these commercials and all these technologies, but no one has ever explained this chart as far as what you taste. It's either the most you hear is a good cup of coffee. Right. You don't hear why it's good.
Yeah.
And everybody's got different philosophies. Green beans, roasted beans, fire roasted beans, steam, all this stuff. Things with temperatures, grinding them a minute before you drink it. Heating the cup up, steaming the milk. Everybody's got something different. But this really kind of explains coffee in a way I've never seen before.
Yeah, the Specialty Coffee Association represents a community of coffee professionals that have recognized that there are excellent and exceptional aspects to coffee. And this flavor wheel is a product of some of the research that we've done around that. So what we did was we had coffee roasters send coffee to us, and we sent that to UC Davis, and they tasted it over and over and over again, and they were able to determine...
That must have been a good job.
Right, exactly, yeah. It's good for the most part until you get to some of the rubbery and skunky stuff. But, it's... so they determined that these are all the flavors that you could find in coffee.
All right,
so this isn't something that we would add. This is something that exists within the coffee itself.
Right, but since we're on the radio, and I'll take a picture of this later, could you explain this whole fruit, sour, green, roasted, explain what this is?
Yeah, so this is actually just a tool that you can use to identify the flavors that you're tasting in the coffee. So cuppers and roasting professionals might use this as kind of a way to create a unified language around what they're tasting. So you'd start in the center, and as you see, there's more general terms here. And then you'd work your way out to more specific until you'd land on a flavor that you're tasting in the coffee. So really, it's just a way to kind of direct you to something that you can use to describe it in more detail.
All right, so let's start with the inner wheel.
Yeah.
So it's roasted. So is that because I see I definitely notice when I drink coffee, there's definitely burnt.
Yeah.
I mean,
some definitely do.
Some definitely you got, and then sometimes it's funny. The one thing I can say is coffee's never the same. When you have tea is tea. It's always the same.
Exactly.
It's if it's this, if it's mint, if it's it's
talk
tea.
to my neighbors over here about tea.
No, but it's always. But when you get a cup of coffee, it's always different. It depends on who made it, what the water's in it. Whether it's oily, whether it's kind of burnt, whether it's smooth.
Yeah.
So we have roasted spices, nutty cocoa, sweet floral, fruity, sour fermented, green, and then other. Other, I guess, is the bad stuff.
That's so there's kind of a side of the flavor wheel that represents stuff that you might want to have in your coffee.
Yeah.
And then some of this is actually representative of defects that you might have. So you'll see down here moldy, damp. That's a product of mold. Woody, cardboard, stale. That might be if the coffee was green and unroasted for a long period of time, and it's just kind of sat in the warehouse and they weren't able to move it fast enough. There could also be bug damage. There could be metal, just screws or something in the bag that kind of affects the overall flavor of the coffee. That's what you're seeing kind of on this side of the flavor wheel. And then on this side, there's just different aspects. You already mentioned roasted. That might represent darker coffee. This also might represent some darker roasted, like a medium roast, if you want to call it that. That's obviously speaking very general.
Right.
But you might get spices, flavors, clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, in kind of a dark, like a medium roasted coffee.
Right.
These represent kind of the sweetness that you'd find in coffee. You might also notice something like that in a dark roast or even a light roast. You might say this has kind of a caramelized sweetness to it or a honey sweetness. These are just all markers that you can use to identify what you're tasting.
Now this is without any additives or anything. This is pure coffee.
Yes.
Coffee bean and hot water.
Exactly. That's it. Roasted coffee and hot water.
Right. Okay.
That's it. That's all. That's all it is.
Now, because of this knowledge that you have, do you now taste coffee differently than you may have done before you've learned this sort of schematic?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. How has it affected your perception of coffee?
Well, it gives me something to think about when I'm tasting it. Looking at something like this while I'm trying coffee, it gives me, like I mentioned before, something to think about. It gives me something to kind of direct, like, what am I tasting? It's more than just I'm drinking coffee as a commodity to wake up. It makes it a more pleasurable experience to kind of enjoy and digest mentally and physically what I'm drinking.
Now, when they're doing the tasting, are they tasting it hot or are they tasting it cold?
Hot. Well, it starts hot and then it changes over time as they're tasting it. So they'll be trying the coffee. Coffee cuppers will often start cupping and it'll be too hot for them to drink it at first. They obviously don't want to burn their taste buds as they're going. But then as they go, they're going to notice that the cup changes over time. It'll start with a really rich body, but you might, like, if you try it a little bit later, you might notice a little bit more acidity, a little bit more of the sweetness, that sort of thing.
Now, how do you drink your coffee with milk?
I do not personally.
All right, do you take straight up?
Just straight black.
You're pure, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and no sugar, right?
No sugar, no.
Yeah, okay,
no,
so
just
you're
black.
pure. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, on this wheel, where do you like, what is the coffee that seems to be the one that you like the most?
My personal preference is blackberry. I love coffee that has a berry flavor or a berry note. Anything with blackberry in it. There's this is just my own personal.
Right. Just yeah.
I personally love Kenyan coffees because a lot of Kenyan coffees, in my experience, have that kind of blackberry flavor, which I love very much. It also has a lot of citrus flavor notes as well. But yeah, those are just my personal favorites.
Now, is there different parts of the world where this, like if you were to take a map of the world, would sort of these flavors be more country or region specific than bean specific?
I know that's generally thought to be true, but I have found personally that this would not be, you wouldn't be able to say all blackberry coffee comes from Africa.
Right.
I've had coffee that has blackberry notes from South America. I've had wonderful coffees that, have any number of these flavor characteristics from every part of the world. So
this is a fascinating chart. So tell me about your association.
Yeah, so we're the Specialty Coffee Association.
Where are you located? Santa Ana, California?
Our headquarters is in Santa Ana, but we are a global organization. So we do have a headquarters in the UK.
Okay.
And we have chapters around the world. So we represent coffee communities globally. We create events. This is a piece of research that the Flavor Wheel is a piece of research that we did. But we do all kinds of research throughout the year. We also have guilds that represent different sectors of the industry. We have the Coffee Technicians Guild, the Coffee Roasters Guild, and the Barista Guilds. And we
very important people.
Absolutely, yes.
People falling asleep at the wheel otherwise. So you do a public service.
We are, yeah. We like to think of it that way. We're helping people stay awake.
And think of all the physicians and medical people around the world that need coffee at 3 a.m. when they get ready for surgeries and other really important things,
Yeah. But we really are just trying to make coffee better overall. We're trying to make sure that the people in the industry have all the tools that they need. We try to help them with education and research. We are doing a big show in Boston as well. We're doing the Coffee Expo. That's coming up in April from the 11th to the 14th. It's an industry-facing show. It's a really cool show. It's going to be, we're going to have about 520 exhibitors.
Wow.
And then last year we had over 13,000 attendees. So It's definitely a really great event for all industry professionals to attend. There's an expo floor. There is going to be lectures. There's going to be cupping labs, things like that. So I highly recommend all coffee professionals to attend.
I remember going to the National Automated Merchandise Association show in Atlanta long time ago, one of the earlier shows that I covered. And I remember there was a class called Coffee 101. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, this is like coffee like 5001 because it's changed so much. I mean, it used to be just sort of drip coffee and those things that just stood on the warmers, if you will.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, just looking at the machines and the aisles and where the beans come from, what you add to it, and the flavors and lactate milk and almond milk, it really has become very different. Do you see, what kind of direction do you see coffee going from here?
I mean, that's hard to say. Sky's the limit with quality. Sky's the limit with the kinds of machines that we're making. There's always new technology that's being created.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful to see the innovation that's coming from all parts of the industry. And it's cool seeing the global coffee community coming together more and more as we strive to make coffee better.
Now, I'm a big fan of Kona coffee. Is that the only U.S. coffee that's made in the United States? Is the Hawaiian Kona coffee?
Believe it or not, no. There's a group of coffee growers in California, actually.
Is there really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Up in Santa Barbara area. There's it started with one. I don't know all the details about it, but I know they found a coffee varietal that grows pretty well in that area. So it's actually really cool to see. I know that you can go there, you can taste their coffee. It's available for purchase. You can buy the trees if you want. So.
Oh wow! What climates are ideal? Is it more of like a temperate, tropical type climate, drier climate, year-round, dry, hot climate? What's the idea? Can we grow coffee in New York on the rooftop? It won't work.
I don't think that would work too well.
Maybe a greenhouse?
Maybe, yeah, maybe, just maybe.
Hothouse?
Hothouse, something like that. Yeah, I mean, the coffee's growing. You see it in the 30 to 30. There's like the coffee belt, what they describe as that region of coffee growers in Africa, South America, Indonesia, China. A lot of specialty coffee is grown at elevation. I know that there's very specific reasons why, but I don't know. I couldn't regurgitate that info off the top of my head right now. But there's plenty of people here that know all of that info, so I'd recommend chatting with them.
Isn't there that coffee that like a bug ingests, and then isn't that something I heard where supposedly it's like the most expensive coffee in the world or whatever?
Oh, I think you're talking about Kopi Luwak.
Is that talk about that? Yeah,
that's the coffee that's fed to civets. Yeah, civets, they look like a mix between a cat and a raccoon, kind of. They're fed that coffee and then they digest it.
They process it.
They process it. Yeah, quote unquote process. It's an interesting coffee. I don't know.
Have you ever had it?
I have had it one time and it was all right.
Did you know that you had it before you had it?
I did. Yeah, I did know what I was getting in for. Getting stuff into.
Because there's like jokes about oats. You're at the farm, you see a horse, and you could buy new oats, or you can buy cheaper processed oats from the horse. And most people really opt for the new oats.
I would say so. Yes. Yeah.
So what did it taste like, that coffee? It was just
it tasted like diner coffee to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't taste that exceptional. I don't know.
Was it more? Do you think that's just more of a hype thing?
It's
marketing.
It's hard to say. There's definitely a market of people that do want to purchase that. I think people worry that are they hurting the animals that they're feeding? So I think there's concern one way or the other.
Is that part of their diet? I guess they probably don't sleep a lot.
They may not. Yeah, too much caffeine. I think coffee farmers noticed a long time ago that some of the droppings that were lying around the farm had some coffee in it, and they're just eating whatever's around,
Yeah.
So, but it's when you start caging them and when you start force feeding them, that's when I think it starts to become a larger issue. But it's hard to nail down that easily,
You've been a wealth of knowledge. Is there anything that I didn't cover that would be appropriate to talk about on the radio it's certainly a plug for, what's the website?
sca.coffee.
Okay.
Go there. There's a lot of information on there. We'd love for you to check us out. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our membership team. You can contact us at membership@sca.coffee. We have a lot of amazing resources that we would love to share with you.
Now, if I wanted to meet Juan Valdez or Exigente, could you put that together?
Talk to me after the recording.
All right, there you go. All right. Again, Chris Buck, SCA Member Services at booth 2416 at the Javits Center. Thank you for a lively interview.